Hello everybody. If you're watching this video, it's because you just made one of the most difficult decisions of your life and you've dropped your son off at Riverside Military Academy for the first time. We decided as a group that it would be a good opportunity for us to answer some frequently asked questions that you probably have or are going to have real shortly. We won't get to all of them. Obviously, you're going to have many other questions, but we're going to tell you how to access those resources as well. I want to take a moment to introduce you to the people who are here today, volunteered to come in and do this, much to their chagrin. Many of them do not like to be on camera.
I think we pretty much voluntold them.
That's right, we voluntold them. But I'm going to start to my left is Mrs. Pam Baker. She is our parent relations coordinator. She's on staff here at Riverside, and her job is to help you, to be an advocate for you, and to be a resource for you. And so this was her idea, and so I'm going to let her take it from here and introduce our parents that are here to help us as well.
Well, hello everybody. Welcome to Riverside. I am Pam, as Colonel Corbin said, and I have coerced, bribed, wrangled in a couple of moms who've been around the block for a while. I too am a mom, a Riverside mom. My son is a senior this year. He started in the 8th grade, so he's starting his 5th year here. So having been through it myself and now being on the parent relations side, I just thought it would be kind of a fun way, a cool way to get some information to you guys and show you where more information is to be found. So we're going to each just introduce ourselves and then just kind of have a little conversation about what you guys might be going through right now and how to make it a little easier. So, Maria, introduce yourself.
I'm Maria Jones. My son is Christian. He is starting his 2nd year here. He started 2nd semester of 8th grade and he's going into his 10th grade year this year.
And I'm Jane Cotgrove. My son Johnny started 3 years ago. He just graduated in May and will be going to the University of North Georgia.
Yay! Yay! That's
Many of
awesome.
you may already know Jane. Jane is also on our staff as an admissions counselor, and many of you are have benefited from her guidance throughout, and so she's here to also help you through this process on the other side as well. So appreciate all they do. Miss Maria is one of our volunteers. There's a lot of opportunities for that that Pam will talk about, and she was up here today helping to pack all the folders for the upcoming ROC registration that we're about to have. And so she does that as for a variety of reasons. One, because she's welcome here anytime. The other thing is that she wants you to have the resources. 3, it's a way for her to snap some glimpses at her son, who is very, very, very busy, and she's rightfully proud. So we're happy to have her here today.
Yes, awesome. Thank you, ladies. Appreciate it. Appreciate you joining us, whether or not you wanted to. As you guys know, having been moms, going through this process, our kids were different ages when they started, but let's talk for a second about how that first night home, like when you came and dropped them off, whether it was registration or on a regular drop-off day, how you felt coming, how you felt when you were here, how you felt when you got home, maybe how your sons felt. I'll share my story too. We were not satisfied with the education that Jake was getting in public school, and once he hit middle school, it just wasn't as good as elementary school, and he was slipping through the cracks. And put him in a private school wasn't such a good match for him either. So when we heard about Riverside, we decided to tour. He loved it. He was like, this is cool. It's like I'm going to college. I was impressed with the campus, obviously. If you've been on campus, you know, it's amazing. But that didn't keep me from being a complete disaster on drop-off day. I was a hysterical mess, bawling, to the point that Jake was like, Mom, get it together. And he said, it's like I'm going to college. What's the big deal? And I was like, you're in 8th grade. Go to college in the 8th grade. I was a disaster. He was fine. And I remember being at home that night, actually driving away. I was like, what did I just do? What did I just do? I just left my kid with these people that I don't know. Now he's living there. and I'm his mom, and I'm supposed to be doing this. So I don't know. I think that's how I felt. What about you, Maria?
Yes, it's kind of the same situation with our son. Felt like he wasn't getting everything that we knew that he could. He wasn't living up to his potential, I'll say. We knew he was capable of a lot more, and this was by far the hardest decision we ever made, but we knew it was the right choice after we came and toured and got to know everybody. But it was very hard to leave that day. I was worried that night. I thought, my son is never going to speak to me again. He's miserable. He's probably starving or whatever, just not knowing. But I will say that 3 weeks into it, when they got their email, the first email he sent home to us was, "Thank you for making this decision." And of course, I was bawling. Like, I never expected that, but it was a great decision, and he still is very happy here.
That's awesome. Yay.
We were in the same boat as them. Johnny just was falling through the cracks at the public high school that he was at. It was very large. And so we just suggested that maybe we look at a different environment. So we came to tour, and he loved it, like Jake.
Mm-hmm.
He loved it. And within 3 days, we were here. Because he went back to his high school and said, "That's where I want to go. That's where I'm going to be." So we made a quick decision, which is probably good in some ways.
Mm-hmm.
But when we dropped off, I was fine when we dropped off because he was excited. But then when I walked in the door of our house and he wasn't there, that's when it hit me. And I was very emotional at that point. And I had a lot of feelings of guilt. Like, did we give up on him in some ways? However, my husband, after we talked about it, said, no, we didn't give up on him. If we would have left him where he was at, that's where we would have been giving up on him.
That's such a good point.
So, but he never complained about one thing here. So he never asked to go back to his public high school or anything. So.
Well, and I definitely think it's harder on the parents than it is on the kids. I love that your husband said that. I also love that first email from Christian. That's kind of like, you're desperate for that. You don't know, and you all are probably feeling this now. It's going to be a couple weeks before you hear from your son, and it's nerve-wracking because you don't know what's happening. You get pictures on Facebook and all over the place, but it's nerve-wracking. And so when you get that first email, it's like, oh, please, please, please let it be good. And for me, Jake was, I was shocked. The first thing he said is, I really like the structure more than I thought I was going to. And he said, the teachers are amazing. And he was coming from a pretty high-level private school before here, and he said they're even better than, I won't say that school, but they're even better than where he was. And that just was like, oh, okay, good, okay, we're good. It's just
Very
reassuring
comforting once you
yes.
hear from them.
Yes, but you do feel guilty too, because I had that same feeling like I gave up on him, or that I was feeling as a mother because I couldn't give him what he needed. And there's a lot of that goes with it, for sure. So those are good points. Anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, you're going to have a lot of boys who, not a surprise, are going to say, or not going to say, thank you, Mom and Dad, for sending me to an all-boys military boarding school.
With no girls.
With no girls, right? It's all-boys school. So you're going to get some of the kids that are resistant to the idea. Boys don't know what's best for them. We've traveled the road ahead of them. Just have to remember that, and sort of, I'm not a parent. I've had my nephews come through here. I've worked here for a long time. My wife has taught here. I was a cadet, although at the college level, it's a love-hate relationship, and boys are all over the map. You have to model the behavior you expect, and so you have to stay strong, trust your gut, know that all of us, even that first day, second day, you can reach out to all of us. You're just not going to have that direct contact with your son for a couple weeks, and and that doesn't mean you can't talk to teachers and your missions counselor and the other folks that you meet. You can reach out to them, but it's, not every boy's going to want to do it, and going to give you some grief about it, because that's what boys do. Just stay strong and remember why you made the decision, why you looked for something different in the first place, and trust that we're going to give you every bit of information we can as quickly as we can.
Yeah, well, and one of the things too is that for what helped for me, and also when I work with other families that are going through this, is to remember the reason why you made the initial phone call to Riverside. Whether it's your son wanted to go to an academy, it's still going to be hard. That transition's still going to be hard. Or if it was because of a lack of motivation, but there is a reason why you called and I called Riverside at some point, and you just have to hang on to that reason, because your emotions can get lost in so many different directions. But remembering that reason is I think really important.
Yeah, and I think another time to really remember your reason is, I know that I got this question from a lot of people. They were like, "You're sending your kid to military school? What?" And I even got, "I thought you guys were a good family." I got that. How about that one? Did you guys get any?
Or what did he do?
What did he do?
What did he do?
Yeah. So I think that's a really, oh my word, I think a lot of people struggle with how to answer that question, because we get it, and especially when you're brand new, you don't have what we have now under our belts of seeing the changes that it's made and the gift that this has been to our sons. So it's hard to fight that battle or present that argument if you don't have, proof in the pudding yet. So I don't know, what would you guys say? What would you say to that? Or did you get that question?
We did. We had families that were kind of like surprised, like you sent them off to boarding school. We just trusted our decision, and we knew what was best for him, and we trusted the system. And I knew that if something was wrong, they were going to call us.
Mm-hmm.
But seeing him at the end of 30 days was worth every moment of it, because he was so confident and so proud, and they stand taller. You just see it. It's an amazing transformation, and I wouldn't change our mind about this decision at all.
Awesome.
Well, and I think I think it was shocking to even our friends and our family that we would look at this decision, but they didn't know really the true why we did it, but we didn't feel like we needed to share the why. But in the end, after Johnny came back and they saw the changes in him and the experiences that we were having, then every time we would go to a social event or anything like that, I would always have parents come up to me and say, "Well, you know what? I have a son, or I have a daughter even that is having, this or that," and so I think it was a good, I don't know, I think it was model for us to relay the message that it's okay to make a change. Sometimes that's what's needed, and not every person is alike, not every child is alike, and I think every parent wants them to be the best they can be, and so sometimes it's making a change.
Well, yeah, and it's like finding the place that is the match for your son and what he needs to reach his potential. And I think, military school's not for everyone. I kind of joke that my oldest would be like in the fetal position all day if he was going to school here. It's just not his match. For Jake, he doesn't love the military side, but the structure's been so good for him. And one thing that I did really from the beginning is I don't know, I believed in it so much that I posted pictures. Back then we didn't have the social media that we have now as far as pictures being taken and posted of my child. I didn't really see anything much until until he graduated from ROC cycle. But man, I plastered it all over the place. And I did check-ins at Riverside, I tagged everything, and people could just see. It's like letting them watch the journey of his transformation was powerful. And it was like literally after those first month or two, people could see the difference in him. They're like, wow. And, you know, all that you sent him to military school went away. It was gone because people could see that it was just a good match.
Yeah, we did the same thing on the, after we got over the initial emotions of that first day. The next day I said, I need to do a press release. And so we put it on Facebook that, you know, when your son comes to you and wants to make a change or feels that there's, a need for a change, you support them and you go for it. And from that point on, I think it just spun it to a positive, in a positive light, and it helped everyone else move forward along with us.
So good. I love that. I love the press release idea. That's great. That's awesome. We're confiscating the teachers' lounge right now.
I just want to add one thing to this. I really admire these ladies and their families, and I admire you. It takes a lot of courage. I would also have you say, if your son was going to, West Point, or the Citadel, or VMI, or to the Naval Academy, what would the response be from your friends? Be amazing, right?
They'd be shocked.
Over
They'd
the
think
moon.
this is amazing.
It's
Wow.
something that our culture's done for a long time, since the Vietnam era, where we just sort of painted military schools with this broad brush. Our honor code, our model, the way we organize the student body, the way we give them leadership opportunities, the way we bring order from chaos is all that the military school part is. We have great teachers, we have great coaches, we have great residential life folks, we've got great staff. Our leadership is better than any high school in the country. I dare anybody to do it. We got more diversity than any country in the United States, of that I'm confident. In every way, from every walk of life. You have made a significantly emotional and courageous decision to give your son an opportunity to really be in the passing lane for the rest of his life. And this temporary anxiety and the temporary concerns about change, I'm telling you, their ability to overcome that and be resilient and have that grit is going to pay tenfold down the road, because you and I all know that life is about chaos and change, and your ability to manage it and to be successful and bloom where you're planted, no matter what, is going to be the hallmark of the 21st century worker. Most of the jobs your sons are going to do don't even exist yet.
True.
They're not going to start, 18 and stay in one field at one company for 30 years. They're going to have to move and try different things, right? So this day, what your son's going through right now and what you as a family are going through right now, it takes a lot of courage, a lot of grit, and your sons are going to be better for having done it. And so just be encouraged with that. I commend you for making this difficult decision, and your sons, they may not thank you today, but I promise you, they're going to be forever grateful for the opportunity that you provided for them. So I just want you guys to hear that from me on day one. Even though you might not believe it yet, I can't wait to see you in 30 days from now, for sure.
And I'll follow that up because Jake, again, has never liked. He likes the structure that the military part of the school provides, but he doesn't love the military side. He's
The marching
not interested.
and the formations and all that
they
stuff.
don't love the marching and the formations. Drill, not so much. But he did say to me last spring, out of the blue, that he said, I don't even know what prompted it, but he was like, you know what, Mom, I'm going to be in such a better position than most of my friends that aren't at Riverside when I go off to college, because I just feel like I have my act together better than they do. And that was shocking to me to hear those words come out of his mouth, but it was also like, yay.
Well, it's. I mean, you've already had the pitch, but I want you, like we said, remember why you called in the first place. These boys are under assault from every direction. It's constant, from phones and from fear of missing out, and from trying to keep up with the Joneses, to look a certain way. And if we were to say today, I got 500 boys, y'all go ahead to the mess hall, they'd be all over the place. So we march as a means of moving efficiently from one place to the other, and give kids the opportunity to walk with poise and to learn how to give commands and to take orders and to shut up when it's time to shut up and stand still when it's time to stand still. That's all that the military model is. It permeates the entire thing, and it extends to the classroom, and it extends to how they carry themselves on the sports field, And that honor code and the values we live by are the same as yours. That's why they're here. Our values match, and now there's 150 of you. So be encouraged in that. And so I just know there's a lot of misunderstanding of what the military model is. It's not a segment of the school. It is the way we organize our student body and get them moving from one place to another.
Right.
I was just telling someone yesterday that a parent that it's like Riverside peels back the layers so that you can get to the core of what they should, the basics of how life is supposed to be.
Right.
And how they're supposed to act.
Bring order to their chaotic lives.
That's right.
We all live them, you know, and so just, you can't change geopolitics and Trump tariffs right now, but what you can do is keep an orderly room, make sure your grades are on time, and get stuff done.
See, chaos is happening right now.
I know, the printer's going off.
going off like crazy, but that's all right. We're going to just roll with it. Okay, so you are going to get a lot of information from us. And I think we've worked really hard to make sure that new families are looped in really well from our social media, Facebook parent page. Definitely go join it if you haven't. You know how to get into my RMA, your portal, hopefully. By now. But there's so many. I know you're still going to have a lot of questions, and a lot of questions will come up as you're going through this journey. It might be a year from now. You'll have a new question. So it's important for you all to know where to find the answers. You can always reach out to us, for sure. You can always do that. You know, if it's midnight and you have a question pop in your mind, where do you go for answers? So you have a handy little book in your hand. And like today's kind of the first time you've ever seen it, right?
It is. And it was very important. I know it was online, but it was actually really good to read some of this stuff because it helps me to kind of see it through my son's eyes and what he's responsible for. And like I noticed in here, I asked my son at Christmas time, "Do you want Christmas lights for your room?" And I just read that it's contraband. Yes, it's really good to read this book.
That's online on your parent portal on the parent resource board. When you click on there, down to the right side, there's a whole bunch of download links. So that's on there because we don't provide these for the families. The boys have them, but we don't provide them. And I'll say, you know, as they're learning the rules, it's all laid out there very clearly for them. Very clear rules, very clear consequences. It's awesome. But also, you were saying like rank, understanding how rank works, and punishment, and yeah, all that stuff. It's like their little book of life.
Yeah.
That's what
and
it
it's
is.
good so you can be on the same page, so that you know when they're at home, you can kind of have the same standards and stuff.
Right, exactly. And so we have these other things, this, well, you can explain these better than we can.
So for the next 30 days, your son's going to have this thing with him at all times. And this is called the ROC book. So he has to earn the title of a cadet. We hold a cadet to a higher standard than we hold a ROC, and then we hold somebody off the street. We expect those boys to be consistent in thought, word, and deed. This first 30 days, they're going to have some additional training. You good? Come on through. They're going to have some additional training that they've got to do, some additional restrictions as you're aware of. But it's some basic stuff about what they need to know here, and they're going to have leaders that are assigned to them. They're going to teach them, coach them throughout this whole thing, teach them how to make a hospital corner, how to have their room inspection ready, how to wear the uniforms appropriately. But they'll have this book with them for the next 30 days, and it will always be an inspectable item in their room afterwards.
All right, and then we have this, Manners for the Riverside Man. These are all on that download section. You can download and read every single one of these. I don't even know, when did we get this?
That's been around for about 6 years. This is like Emily Post for boys, some expectations of gentlemanly behavior, how to escort a lady, what fork goes with what part of the meal, what's the purpose of a handkerchief, how to act in public, how to interview, how to converse and actively listen, some basic soft skills of being a successful adult one day when he's a husband, a father, an employer, or whatever. So this is really good. A lot of schools want to take it. You know what we do? We say, take it, because we need better men.
That's true. And then we have this. This will have been in your packet if you came and dropped your son off. Some kids I know come on their own, international students. But this is awesome too. And if you don't have the hard copy of this, it is also on that download links. It's awesome, you guys. There's everything you need to know. is in here. So get your highlighter out. Go through it.
Yes, that was
Highlight
probably my
all
best
of it.
friend in those
Yeah.
first 30 days.
Isn't this awesome?
Yeah.
And it just helps you understand everything. How does absences and leaves work? How does the infirmary work? How does discipline? Here's your contraband list again. This is great when you get around to sending care packages because it will tell you what not to send. And it's just awesome, you guys. And it was made for it was made to make you guys your lives easier.
So now you're home and you're going to expect that, the next morning you're going to wake up, there's an email from your son and from his TAC officer and from his teachers that you're going to be let down. So I'm going to tell you why. It's going to take a couple days for us to get everything situated. So for instance, when he enrolls, they're going to place him in a cadet company if he's a boarding student, which most of our kids are, so we'll deal with that. He's going to get placed into a company. If he comes in with a large group at the first of the semester, it's going to take at least 72 hours before you're going to get a response from the TAC officer introducing himself and saying your son is in Bravo Company or whatever. I'm Captain so-and-so, and here's what I'm interested in, and I want you to know how you can reach out to me. It's going to take a couple days for that to happen. If he is arriving with a large group in August or January, it's also going to take about a week for you to hear from his individual teachers. That's so that we can maintain that low student-to-teacher ratio, and so there's a little bit of moving and shaking that goes on that first week. So what we've done in response to that is we try to surge as much photography as we can and try to get that out there. We have letters that come from parents to parents, the ROC week 1 letter and the week 2 letter, and to basically buy some time where you're getting information that you need, but it also gives us time to get everybody situated where they should be so that you're hearing from, I'm your son's chemistry teacher, and not a day later, well, now I'm your son's chemistry teacher because we had to balance the classroom load. So just I want to manage your expectations that you're not going to get an immediate welcome message from whatever his company TAC officer or teacher is going to be, because it takes a minute to get everybody situated.
And I like to always remind people that it's the same in public school. They at the beginning of the year, they give you that 10-day window where they're trying to drop ad and figure out if the class matches their skill level and what's happening. So it's the same. It's the same. Just remember that. One thing I think it's important to remember, though, when you feel like reaching out, give them time at the beginning, but communicating with the TACs and the teachers later on after that initial craziness. A lot of people, I think, feel like they're bothering them. You can speak to
Well,
that.
I think because it's a boarding school, it's automatically people don't know what to expect, and because it's not the norm.
Right.
But when it's all said and done, you're still the parent, and Riverside wants you to be a parent. You're not just dropping them off and having us take them from here. So be involved, and by being involved, meaning when you have a question, reach out and ask. That's how you're going to calm yourself down.
Yep. Yes, I agree. And the teachers and the TACs are wonderful about responding. They truly care about your child, and have always been, they've always responded to everything that we've ever asked. And I would say one of the biggest things is attending the parent-teacher conferences, whether it's in the fall or the spring. Those are amazing. I was so surprised at how well they knew my child, not just academically, but his overall personality. And they were quick to let me know that, the first semester that he was hanging around some kids that he probably shouldn't hang around with, and they pulled my son aside and talked to him, with us there, and it was great.
That's awesome.
We're very happy with that.
That's awesome. And when you get your packet and online on that download link where all the magic is, you will also find this handy dandy who do I call sheet. Literally anybody you need to call is pretty much on this sheet. So, and it's even listed. Got academic questions? Here's who you call. Leave requests? Here's what you do. So use this list. Print it. If you don't have your packet, print it off your computer and stick it on your
Well, it's also
refrigerator.
on the resource page that they can pull up on their phone.
Oh, yes. See, it's everywhere. It's there. And it's awesome. You seem like you wanted to say something.
I don't want to say anything. That's true.
Okay. All right. Now, we're going to get into something that a lot of people talk about, and I know we don't want this to run so long, but these are all important, and we're trying to give you strategies, I guess is the right word, on how to handle these potential, not all cadets, but potential SOS calls. Mom, they're not feeding me. Mom, they locked me in the closet for a week. Mom, insert crazy claim. Because, you know, when life gets stressed out and they're like having to do push-ups for the first time in their lives, and they're like, whoa, this is legit. A lot of kids are not used to that. So sometimes they panic and they're like, they want to be rescued. So,
Do your fact checking.
yeah, do your fact checking. I don't want to say that boys are master manipulators, but let's say teenagers. Teenagers in general, and 2-year-olds. They all know how. They will figure out how to pull the heartstrings. So, and you being away from them and not knowing what the heck's going on are going to be more, shall we say, gullible or likely to be sucked in by the outlandish claims. I know I was from the start. So I don't know. Fact checking is a good one. What other
I
things?
have an example. My son called me like that first semester saying that he'd gotten hurt at GSA, and that his back was hurting, and that he was afraid maybe he broke something. And you know, my first instinct was like, oh, I've got to go up there and take him to the emergency room. And I thought, no, I'm going to call the TAC officer and just see what he thinks. And I called the TAC officer, and he told me that, well, Christian's walking down the hall right now. Let me pull him in here. And lo and behold, he was suddenly cured.
He's cured. That's so funny.
This is good to always check. Check with the TACs.
That's
Before you
an
rush up
awesome
to it.
example.
Yes.
Yeah, that's funny. Jane, you ever heard any craziness come your way?
From parents?
And
No.
yeah.
No. Yes. They will try to say anything and everything. But the best thing you can do is ask them how can you handle that? Don't dismiss their claim, but you know, it's part of them being here is learning how to figure things out on their own. And if you're always trying to figure it out by calling here first thing every day, and they're not learning that skill. So that's.
Yeah, I think that's really important, teaching them to be advocates for themselves. They all need to learn how eventually, so start now. You know, if they come and say something, oh, well, have you talked to anybody about that? Did you talk to your TAC about it? Did you talk to your teacher about it? You know, yeah, I did. They didn't say anything. Okay. And you just have them, I'd say guide them in how to solve their own problems. And, you know, and ultimately, and I say this to parents when they say they've done that, and I've said this to many parents and I would say, you know what, and sometimes this is kind of, I don't know if you're going to approve of this. It's kind of calling BS on them. And this is where you'll know if it's legit. You say, you know what, as your mother, if you've tried all those things and none of that has worked, as your mother, it is my job to make sure that you're okay and that you're safe. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reach out to the commandant. And most of the time they'll say, no, don't do that, because they know they're going to be called out on their claims if it goes there. So use that as your backup plan. Encourage them to go through all those steps first. But they usually don't want you to call the commandant. They don't want that. So it was interesting, right before we came down to do this, as they often are, there were several senior boys in my office. My son brings his posse in. So we said, hey, what advice? We told them we're going to do this video. And what advice do you guys as seniors at Riverside have for these parents who are sitting at home? It's kind of interesting, right?
Yes.
Because they kind of they all gave us something. Jake, my son, said, remember that whatever they're telling you is probably being very much exaggerated, right? That's what he said. He said, what they're saying is exaggerations. I was like, that's cool. What was another one?
Trust the system. Oh, no, what is it?
Yeah, trust the system. What Blake said, he said, they're just remember that they might not like the fact that they're here, but they're gonna respect it. They're gonna respect that they've gone here. I was like, that's pretty cool. To oh yeah, cadets may not ever like it, but they'll come to respect it. I thought that was pretty cool. And another one said, encourage them to adjust as quickly as possible. That was cool. And we actually got that piece of advice before Jake started. Somebody said, you know what, ROC cycle is going to be hard. And just transitioning to this lifestyle, to boarding school, but also a military boarding school, is going to be hard. And they told Jake how the length of that, how hard it is, depends on you. That's what they said. It depends on you. If you embrace the system, it doesn't last very long. The hard part. If you resist the system, it's going to be a little harder for a little longer. So that's something for you guys to think about when you do start getting emails and phone calls, and if they're struggling to adjust, is just encourage them. You know, you guys got this. You got this. I'm so proud of you. You're doing awesome, and just keep encouraging.
Set the example for them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we come from a day and age where people are really good at identifying problems and don't go the second step and actually looking at ways in which to solve the problem. I was talking with a teacher earlier today about something that's been a problem for multiple years. How about we fix it, right? So if they bring up something, I think it's great to hear them out, encourage them, and say, what are you going to do about that problem? What's your step? You know, they know who to go to if there's an issue. And so we're teaching them a life skill on how to overcome and how to look at issues, consider other viewpoints, and find ways to solve it. But I'm going to tell you, your sons are going to live harder than their peers at home. They're going to work harder than their peers at home. They're going to be under scrutiny, under observation all the time. And boys don't much care for that because they'd like to, if left their own devices, to do a whole lot of nothing. A lot of video games, a lot of texting, Snapchatting, hanging out with girls, and God knows what they're doing outside of sort of the arm's length of you or an adult, and et cetera. So they don't like that part of it, but I just want to take some of the mystique out of it. So the reality is the military piece of this is they're going to be accountable for what they do or fail to do. Simple as that. They're going to be accountable to an honor code that says won't lie, cheat, steal, or tolerate those that do. They're going to be held to the standard of selfless service as leaders. These are kids. They're not adults. They're not CEOs. They're not general officers. They're kids. They're learning how to lead. And we're teaching them how to be a servant leader, just like our mothers always demonstrate in the home, is how to put other people's needs ahead of your own. All these things are being taught. And so, yeah, they're tired because they work hard from 6 in the morning till 10 at night. But the military piece of it is they wear a team uniform like they would at any other private school, or they would on a sports field, that they have to make their bed, that they have to be accountable for their actions, that they have to lead others, and also be accountable for what those people that they're leading do or fail to do. They've got a time and place for everything, from sleeping to eating to playing basketball to studying to going to class, and they're doing it with a ton of people around at all times. And so there's not a whole lot of room for shenanigans, and that is uncomfortable for them. And so we talk about the military part of it. Well, I mean, what are they doing differently here that they would be doing at home? They're going to have to do homework. They're going to have to eat. They're going to have to maintain a schedule. It's just you got 150 of you enforcing it. It's an ecosystem here. It's a fishbowl. The reason why the teachers know Christian is because we see them all the time. They're always under observation. That should be an encouragement to you. If you know, obviously you've taken the step of trusting us enough to enroll your son, and our values align. We've got it, and we're gonna work hard to make sure that they're the best version of themselves they can be with you as our partner. So I just want you to be encouraged. It's a school. They're not in the Marines. You know, life isn't over. It's actually what you've done is simplified their lives more than you can possibly imagine. There is a time and place for everything. There's order out of chaos. There's a time for them to be on their phones. There's time for them to play. And as you described, it's only going to be an issue when you try to play when it's time to work. So what we're modeling is what it means to have a self-disciplined, self-controlled life built around priorities. And so all that stuff, it's helpful because right now you're raw and you're concerned on this. You just have to keep reminding yourself, this is why the school's been around for 100+ years. It works, and it works uniquely for boys, and it certainly worked in my case. I was a train wreck student. I was much more interested in picking guitars, kicking soccer balls, and hitting on girls than I was taking care of the main thing. And I needed this kind of environment to keep me moving in a direction and challenged, and it did. And so I preach the gospel because I believe it, and I'm a product of it for what that's worth.
Well, just really quick, I know we're short on time, but as a parent, for us, one of the best things when we felt so proud of Johnny was when he did get knocked down, and he stood up and he dusted himself off, and he was able to get right back into the swing of things. So.
Probably ought to define knockdown though, so they don't. They had a setback.
Knocked down. So what does that mean? Well, there's consequences for all actions. And if he didn't turn in an assignment and then he had to stay on campus because his grade was below a 70 in a class, then that's knocked down. There was something on the weekend he wanted to do and he couldn't do it, but he learned quickly then that you had to get back up and just keep going and turn in those assignments, and it was as easy as that. But it's a simple lesson, but he learned that on his own with the guidance and the help from staff around here. So
Yeah, that's a great example. And the procrastinating lifestyle doesn't work so well. It doesn't work so well here, which is good because it doesn't work so well in real life either. So that's awesome. We have a list of like final advice kind of things. Number one thing, they're always starving, right? So
Send snacks.
send snacks. Send snacks. The Barracks have microwaves, the macaroni and cheese, beef jerky.
A lot of cup of
Ramen.
noodles.
A lot of cup of
noodles.
noodles. They love it. And plastic forks and spoons to go with it. What else? If you want to know how to send stuff to him, again on the parent resource board it'll show you exactly the address to get it to him. We have our mail system here is awesome. We get emails every day that says these companies have packages, come pick them up, and then the tax distribute them. So that's awesome, and they love getting packages. They love it. Everybody does. I love getting packages.
I love mail of any kind.
Yeah, they do.
Especially that first 30 days,
Yes.
it's because they don't have that communication with you. I went to boot camp when I was 17 years old, and I loved mail call. It was just sort of a connection to
Yeah.
normalcy because I was
Yeah.
tired and under pressure and 17 years old. So
Yeah.
that does help early on. You can mail that before you drop him off so that it's there within a couple of days of his arrival, and with a note in there saying I love you and proud of you, praying for you, or whatever your encouragement message is.
For sure. One of the things I did, and I tell this to a lot of new parents, is I went, and I don't even know, I think it's brilliant, but I don't know how I came up with it, but I went to Target and I got like a stack of cards that were just like, hey, checking in, love you, miss you, you got this, all kinds of themes or whatever. And so I just sent one every couple of days and put, I wrote like a line or two. It wasn't a lot. It just took me no time at all. And he never mentioned it to me. He never thanked me for it, but he never threw them away. So I know that was important for him to get. He still has them. So, that's an idea, just to have them right there in your kitchen. Okay, every other day or once a week or whatever works for you.
Pictures, they can have
Yes,
pictures. 'Cause I
family
know
pictures.
when we saw my son's room for the first time, we were so surprised to see that he had pictures of his siblings,
Oh,
up there with them.
he loved that.
And those kind of things distract you a little bit too from sitting there wondering and thinking and sort of imagining what's going
My
on.
family
It's,
forget
it's a
about
way you can solve the problem of
Mhm.
missing him or whatever, is just by sending him a note, and be good.
Yeah, for sure. Maria, you mentioned this one. Once they're done with their ROC cycle, if you're local, come have lunch or dinner.
Yeah, we made it a weekly thing. We would sit every Thursday or whatever. We would come up here, and it's the one thing that he looks forward to every week is knowing that that we're going to come up here. So whether it's lunch or dinner, just stop by if you're in town. I know if you're not, it's harder, but they love it when you come up here and visit.
Yeah, they do. Even if you're out of town and you're coming for a weekend event or something like that, just come in a little bit early and have lunch with them, and then you just have to hang out for a couple hours. A lot of cool things to do in Gainesville until they're out for the day with classes, but it's kind of fun to be there too. I loved, before I worked here, I came once a week as well. I came for lunch every Wednesday, and I'd bring, pizza or a big tray of Chick-fil-A or something like that, and the boys would flock.
Oh, yeah.
And they
Love
love it. It's so fun. It's so fun. What about I think Maria, you had mentioned this too, but Jane, when they go home for the holidays and they might have a little, struggle getting back into it. Spring break. And
This is something that we did deal with that first year. Was got home at Christmas, and then when he came back, he was extremely homesick. And I always tell parents, or I told, I always tried to put it in my head that when I went to college, I was the same way.
I was too.
So it's just the same thing as if they were to go off to camp, but just keeping that. We also, during the break, we would just keep talking about Riverside, bringing it up, and not letting him just loaf around and escape that way. He had to keep it in his head that he was coming back, and that, which he never didn't want to come back, but it was hard. That there's always an adjustment period, no matter what type of break it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not just furloughs, it's weekends too. And so it's really important. I mean, my recommendation to new families is limit the amount of time he comes home during at least that first semester. That's going to be counterintuitive to you. You're going to want him to come every opportunity. He's going to want to come home every opportunity. At least he's going to express that. We have a lot of kids here every weekend, probably 300 or so. There's an activities director that's got stuff going on. The boys get a chance to relax socially with each other because they work so hard during the week. But if he comes home, he's going to see all of his friends that he grew up with, which may be great influences, but also might not be good influences. He's going to raid the cupboard constantly. He's going to use all of your Wi-Fi. He's going to sleep constantly. And then all of a sudden, he's only going to see Riverside as a place that's work and hard. And so if you really want him to cleave into this and take the most advantage of this opportunity he's got, you need to reduce how much he's going out of different cultures. And that's really the value of the school is you've got a 24/7. This is the values. It's you get what you earn. You get what you earn. Work hard, live hard, play hard, meet friends from all over. It's just sort of the same thing. The 10,000 hours that Malcolm Gladwell talks about. And that can be disrupted over furloughs and over every open weekend. And so just be thoughtful of that. And if you do bring him home for the weekends or whatever, try to maintain that sort of model. It's good for his circadian rhythms. It's good for his body for him to still get up at a decent time and to stay productive and not just to sit there and become a couch cushion. So just stay on it.
Yeah, and I think it's good for them to have the experience staying here on the weekend because they have a chance, an opportunity to kind of hang out with the guys in a different environment rather than the structure of the classroom and everything all week. And it's a chance for them to get connected more with the boys and
what an
develop those
opportunity.
relationships.
I mean, you got kids that from Kazakhstan, California, or Calhoun, Georgia, like all over. You've got these amazing kids that they're going to be friends with for the rest of their lives. And so, if they're only here when they're sort of pushing through the day and they don't get a time to sort of play together, and if you haven't seen the facilities, we've got great facilities. We just upgraded the basketball court where they wear out every weekend, and volleyball courts. There's a lot of stuff going on for their benefit, and so I wouldn't rush in and swoop and say, "Yep, it's Friday. I'm gonna go pick him up," and because it does disrupt the progress he's making. Now, multiple years in, that's a different story. But you're really talking about this first little bit. Just be mindful of how much he's hopping in and out of different competing cultures, if you will.
The more he gets connected with other cadets and builds those relationships with them, the easier it makes your life. I'm just saying. It
And
really
the more
does.
you get connected with other
Mhm,
folks
yeah.
here as well, which is one of our main focuses,
Totally.
student affairs and parent relations.
Yeah, so I'm gonna wrap it up real quick here, but join the Facebook page for the parents' unofficial Facebook page. But great point you made earlier when we were chatting about privacy.
On the Facebook page, a lot of parents like to share what's going on. My only suggestion would be just be careful what you're sharing. Try to keep your child's privacy. Don't share things that you wouldn't want him to know, because inevitably that page is open to everyone, and you don't want something out there, or he wouldn't want you to put something out there that he may not want others to know about. So
Right.
just be careful what you post.
Might be embarrassed or get mad at you
Yeah.
or whatever. Just be mindful of that. I mean, it's a small community because it's, and what Maria means by open out there to everyone, it's open to only Riverside families, but
Yes.
but still, that's a lot of people.
But when
So-
the kids are home on the weekend, they can
Yeah.
look at your Facebook page.
Yeah.
Well, and it's also the same thing we tell our own kids. Like,
Mhm.
nothing's private. I don't care how
Right,
close the
that's
group
true.
is. Like, I mean, be careful what you put out there. But it's a good resource to sort of bounce ideas. But, you know, my recommendation on that Facebook page is use it as a chance to sort of get ideas from other parents. But when it comes to school,
Mhm.
you know, school policies, school issues, school calendars, things that there are departments who understand all the moving pieces that are responsible for, go to those sources. Pam and we sort of look at it to see if there's trends out there that says, okay, we probably need to send a special message about this because enough parents are asking about it. But really, the people that work here that are accountable for the information, make sure that you go to them. And I know this, if you don't get the answer from them, you know, the president's cell phone number is everywhere and out there. And the purpose is, if you go to the manager and you don't get what you believe to be a sufficient answer to your question, or no one's replied, then call him, and he'll make sure it happens. I can tell you my cell phone number is 678-897-7263. I answer it all the time. If you got a question or concern, it's not being addressed, call it. I may not be able to answer it, but I'll get it solved for you. I mean, that's how. That's our job. That's you know, you're our partners, and we take it very seriously.
Definitely. Some things to just remember. We're building partnership. You know, it's a partnership. Parents are part of this team. The teachers, the staff, everybody's working together for the same end goal, which is we want our sons, your sons, to be the best that they can be the best that's within them to reach their full potential. And everybody wants the exact same thing. So just remember that everyone here genuinely cares so much for your son, and we're all here for the same reason. So remember the partnership, and with partnership, of course, remember, be respectful of one another. That means on Facebook too. Respectful of one another, be respectful of the teachers. You know, it's school. There's going to be times where you don't understand or agree with something that's happened. You know, instead of going and talking about it on Facebook, go, you know, if you think the teacher made a bad judgment call with a paper or whatever it is, reach out to them, find out what the motivation was behind it. There's a story behind every decision that's made, and very rarely do we have all the details of that story. So remember that. Also go up the chain of command like you just talked about, but know that the chain goes all the way to the top. If you're not getting your answers, reach out to the president. One thing that's really important that I've seen a lot over the years, I saw it a lot last year, as still in a volunteer position, was breaking of the rules. Holy Lord. Last ROC cycle, when we had a big group, lots of rules being broken, and it that makes it really hard for the boys. It makes it really hard. And by breaking the rules during that first 30 days ROC cycle, there are football games that you can come to. You can come. There are Raiders meets. You can come to those. The challenging part is if you can't control yourself and stay away from your boy, don't come. Wait until after the ROC cycle. It just like restarts the whole thing for them. And it goes back to what Jake said. Let the new boys adjust to this and encourage them to do so as quickly as possible. And they can't do it if they're trying to I saw this I saw this happen at the front door. Last rock cycle, I walked out and there's a mom like hugging on her son, and he had his big rock patch on, and I was like, I was still volunteer, I wasn't working here. I was like, what's happening right now? Why are you here? And he said, the boy said, I told her not to come. I told her not to come. And he's like afraid he's gonna get in trouble now, and you know, that just puts him in such a hard position. So follow the rules. They're there for a reason. They're not just willy-nilly. They're in place for a reason. They do what they're supposed to do.
Let me give you the reason real quick. The 30 days is 112 years of experience, and about how long it takes for you to become acclimated to a new normal in your family dynamic, and for the cadet to get acclimated to a new environment and focus in. The more he's thinking about home and everybody else, the more he sees, the less he's focused in on what it means to be successful here. We want him to use the resources that are available for him when he's struggling, when he needs help, when he's homesick, just like we would expect him to do in college, at a writing center or anything like that. We want them to go through that process and learn the adult skill of self-advocacy and problem solving without us swooping in and solving it for them. And we want you to get over some of your sickness and sadness over, I didn't walk in and Johnny's not there. Like, it's going to take some time. And some kids, it takes 5 days and they're into it and ready to roll. But I would just tell you, over a course of a lot of time and experience and time-tested knowledge, 30 days is about what it takes for him to get adjusted and for you to get adjusted. And you need to learn how to trust. He needs to learn how to trust and use the system there. That's why the staff is here. We're here to support you. But the more you interact with your son or seek to break the rules, you're modeling that it's okay for you to do something that is outside of the norms, and we're trying to teach them how important it is to obey well-constituted authority. Mm-hmm. It's the foundation of a civil society, and it starts in this first 30 days. So
it does.
It's
and
hard.
You know, it goes for the phone calls. It goes for you know, the old boys will have their phones, and your son, being a rock, might say, hey, can I borrow your phone? I want to call my mom because I miss her. And they might be given a phone. So if you get a phone call from your son using somebody else's number, I mean, what do you do? What would you say to that? I don't know. That feels like pressure. Hot seat.
I would, I didn't have that problem, so it's hard to say, but, you know, I would encourage you to just tell him you can't talk to him, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, there's always a question of, and I'm interested in your response on this. Like, do I turn him in? Do I tell on him? What do I do? I don't want to get in trouble, but what do I do? I would do the same thing. If and just say, hey, you're not supposed to be on the phone right now. I'll talk to you at the end of the 30 days. You know, send me an email. I'll email you back, and just put it back on him. But I don't know.
Let him know that the rules are there and that he's got to follow them. Because if you start breaking them in the beginning, then you're gonna
and you let him break them.
Yeah,
it's a lost cause.
Plus, it just pulls at those heartstrings even more.
Yes, it's hard. Mm-hmm. It's so hard. It's hard on both of you. Anything to add on that?
No, just do your best to stay away. It's very difficult, I know.
And then
just let him get acclimated. You guys get acclimated. If he calls, hey, I love you. You're doing the wrong thing already. Follow the rules. We'll talk in 30 days when I see you looking amazing at the ROC graduation. So get on.
Love you. Got it. Bye-bye.
And just move on. He'll be all right. He won't call again. Or if he does, do the same thing twice. Just stay on it and then cry after you hang up the phone. It's all right.
That's right. And that goes for, you know, the unfortunate times. If your son's birthday falls during ROC cycle, which happens, you can send in a cake. You can send in pizza. You reach out to the TAC officer, make the arrangements. All that stuff's on the Parent Resource Board too, exactly how to do all that. Don't show up to give him a gift. Don't do it.
You can celebrate after.
You can celebrate after. You can even get him an extra gift because he had to wait a little longer.
The best gift you can give is following the rules.
Follow the rules. Don't make it harder for him. And that goes for when he does get to go home. Also, picking him up, cutting out of class early because you have something else you want to do, or you know, getting him back half an hour, 2 hours late, or the next day. Those are all setting the wrong example. So do your best to follow what the school has set for the guidelines.
And they will tell you that it's okay.
They
My
will
friends
tell
come
you.
late.
My son
Or
still says
my
that.
tax said it's okay. Check
Mhm.
with the tech.
Yeah, check with the tech. And
What I would say is check with the handbook. And
yeah,
follow
check with the handbook. I was gonna say because
Yes.
some techs might say the wrong thing and then they're still showing up late.
The
Don't.
handbook's the rule,
Mhm.
and he's going to be
Rule's
held
the rule.
accountable for excused or
Mhm.
unexcused absence based on the handbook, not on what somebody said in passing. So, just ask you to familiarize yourself with that information because that's policy, and it's going to be strictly enforced because it does absolutely affect their academic standing. It affects their ability to get things done. It also requires a ton of extra work on teachers who work well beyond a standard day already to create new homework assignments and testing, all this kind of stuff for a kid who's late or who left early or came a week after the fact to try to get him back on track. And it's unfair. And so follow the rules. That's all I would say. It's what we're going to expect of the boys is what you expect of us. So it's expected of you as well. I think that's fair.
That's fair. And I will say, reach out to me. I'm your person. I'm your person. This whole entire school is here to take care of your son. Me and the student affairs department. That's what we're here. We're here to take care of you. So reach out to us. If you feel like you're not strong enough, you can't do it, call me. I'll talk you down off the ledge. That's kind of all we have. You got any parting thoughts or advice?
Be excited for your son. This is a great thing for him.
Definitely.
I mean, it's gonna
It's been incredible.
it's gonna
just to
change
watch.
his life. It will.
Every time he comes home, I see the maturity level going up and just his ability to make rational decisions and yeah,
It's exciting.
it's very exciting.
It's exciting. How about you, Colonel Corbin?
Hang in there. You'll be okay.
Remember the reason why you called.
Remember the reason why you called. That's right. All right.
Hey, wait. Have a glass of wine. Go somewhere for a couple of days with your loved ones.
Go do something fun.
Go take.
Mhm.
It's okay. We've got it. We
Got
got it.
it.
Go enjoy a couple of days, and it's going to be hard to do, but this is a big decision that requires a lot of trust. So these first few days, while you're super anxious, you got to trust us a little bit because you're not going to have a ton of communication. Go have some fun. We got it. Promise.
And in the big picture, it's only 30 days.
Yeah.
It's only 30 days. Bye, y'all.